From the New York Times, it's The Headlines. I'm Tracy Mumford. Today's Wednesday, August 28th. Here's what we're covering. This week, both of the federal cases against Donald Trump, which have faced long delays and legal setbacks, are back in play. Monday, it was the classified documents case. Special counsel Jack Smith filed an appeal to resurrect it, saying it never should have been thrown out. Yesterday, it was the election interference case, in which Trump's accused of plotting to overturn the 2020 election after he lost. That case has basically been frozen for 8 months while the courts considered whether former presidents can be prosecuted for actions they take in office. The Supreme Court ultimately ruled in favor of Trump in July, granting former presidents broad immunity for official acts. But what qualifies as official? And does that cover all the actions Trump allegedly took? Smith filed a revised indictment yesterday afternoon, essentially offering his answers to those questions.
You saw Smith tweaking the indictment in very kind of small ways to suggest that Trump was not acting in his official role as president in this post-election period where he was seeking to remain in power, but in fact was acting in his private role as a candidate for office.
Times reporter Alan Foyer has been covering the cases against Trump. He says Smith's updated indictment is largely similar to the original. There's still allegations that Trump created fake slates of electors to claim victory, and that he pressured Vice President Mike Pence to throw the election his way on January 6th. But some details have been removed.
The biggest change that Jack Smith made to the January 6th indictment was stripping out any mention of the allegations concerning Trump's involvement in trying to get the Justice Department to support his false claims that the election had been rigged against him. And Smith took those allegations out of the new indictment because the Supreme Court, in its ruling on immunity, specifically decided that when a president is having conversations with officials in the Justice Department, that's part of his core official duties, and so he can't face criminal charges related to them.
Smith's revised indictment is basically his opening move for an upcoming courtroom battle over whether the charges can stand. It will now be up to the trial judge to determine how the immunity ruling applies. Meanwhile, the first rioter to breach the U.S. Capitol on January 6th was sentenced yesterday to 4 years in prison. Michael Sparks, who's 47 years old and from Kentucky, was captured on video that day entering through a window that rioters smashed with a police shield. He'd posted on Facebook earlier, "It's time to drag them out of Congress." He was found guilty on felony charges of obstructing an official proceeding, civil disorder, and several misdemeanors. The judge said it was undeniable that by going through the window first, Sparks encouraged others to follow. He's the latest to be sentenced out of more than 1,300 people the Justice Department has charged in connection with January 6th. In court yesterday, Sparks said he still believes the false claim that the 2020 election was, quote, completely taken from the American public. In the West Bank, Israel carried out raids and airstrikes today, killing at least 9 people, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. The territory hasn't seen anywhere near the level of destruction that Gaza has, but this morning's operations seem to be a significant escalation of Israel's military campaign there. The strikes and raids appear to cover a wide part of the occupied territory, where nearly 3 million Palestinians and 500,000 Israeli settlers live. The Palestinian Authority's official news agency says Israeli troops moved in on hospitals and were blocking access in and out of the towns of Jenin and Tulkarm. The Israeli military said it was carrying out counterterrorism operations and did not provide more detail. The country's foreign minister said, quote, "We must deal with the threat just as we deal with the terrorist infrastructure in Gaza." The arrest of Pavel Durov, the founder of the messaging app Telegram, has rocked the tech industry after he was taken into custody in France over the weekend. French authorities have said it's part of an investigation into criminal activity on the app.
There is little precedent for a tech executive to be arrested for the things that their users say or do on their platform.
Adam Satariano covers tech policy for The Times. He says that after Durov was arrested, the question immediately came up. Should other tech executives, like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, be worried about being arrested for what's on their platforms?
And really, you talk to many experts and the answer is no, that this is a fairly unique set of circumstances here. Telegram's been closely watched by law enforcement around the world for years. On the platform, which is approaching 1 billion users now, you can easily find illegal weapon sales, drug sales, terrorism propaganda. There's corners that have child pornography. And law enforcement officials have long been frustrated that Telegram has not done enough to address this kind of material that spreads easily across its platform. But the case has become more than just about Telegram, which many people, particularly in the United States, have never heard of or used. It's become kind of a case study about the limits of free expression on the internet. On the one hand, you have some more kind of free speech absolutists who believe that this is an example of government trying to censor what people say and do on the internet and using the most punitive way possible to go after an executive to try and get them to do something. But others say that this is actually a much more narrow and legal argument about illegal activity happening on the platform and the company not doing anything to stop it.
French authorities have until today to formally charge Durov or release him. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the Mormon Church, has issued a sweeping update to its policies that include new restrictions on the church's transgender members. People who pursue transition are now prohibited by the church from working with children, and trans people are barred from being baptized, even if they've only changed their names or pronouns. The new guidance, which was rolled out last week, defines someone's gender as their biological sex at birth and says it's, quote, an essential characteristic in Heavenly Father's plan of happiness. In the past decade, the church, which has 17 million members, has carved out some limited acceptance for LGBTQ people, including no longer labeling same-sex couples as apostates, people who've rejected their religion. But it has also tightened rules around trans members, like restricting their access to temples. A support group for current and former LGBTQ Mormons condemned the new guidelines, writing in a statement that they hope God will yet reveal better for our transgender siblings. And finally, the orcas are back. For the past few years, sailors off the coast of Spain and North Africa have been on the lookout for pods of orcas, which have attacked ships, leaving them stranded at sea or even sinking them. This week, orcas rammed another sailboat, breaking its rudder and forcing its crew to put out a mayday call. No one knows exactly why the orcas in that part of the ocean are going after ships. One theory is that they're reacting to past traumatic encounters with boats. Another is that they're just naturally curious and playful mammals who are just maybe getting a little carried away. But a team of Spanish researchers has a new theory that's based on one of the orcas' favorite snacks, Atlantic bluefin tuna. The scientists say that the tuna, which are fast swimmers and can be 10 feet long, are hard to catch, so the orcas need something to train on. Unfortunately for sailors, sailboats move quickly, silent, and close to the water's surface, a lot like a bluefin. Scientists say it seems that adult orcas are teaching younger members of their pods how to ram the ships, maybe in preparation for catching a tuna. Those are the headlines. Today on The Daily, how negotiators are still struggling to get a ceasefire deal done 10 months into the war in Gaza. You can listen on the Times audio app or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Tracy Mumford. We'll be back tomorrow.